What's up, losers? Today I'm back with another r/am I the asshole video. Checking out some posts that I found extra juicy. And trying to reach a verdict on who the real assholes are in them. This is episode 4 in the Am I the Asshole series. And I'm ready to be pissed off and flabbergasted by some truly ridiculous behavior. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first post is by user, a masterful writer, and it is titled, "Am I the Asshole for reporting my neighbor for making her 8-year-old use a tanning bed? Oh boy, I guess we're not easing into it today. Are we? Sighs. Let's give it a read."
I'm still not sure whether or not I should feel guilty about this. My next-door neighbor is a woman in her late 30s, or early 40s, who is a single mom. She has a 10-year-old boy and an 8-year-old girl. Her kids are her entire life, but she tends to live vicariously through her daughter. She constantly talks to me about beauty pageants her daughter is partaking in. A couple of times, she said things like, "Annalise, name change to protect the innocent, is throwing a fit, because she doesn't want to practice her speech for Little Miss Louisville." Or whatever the pageant is called. She pushes the girl really hard to do pageants. And I tried talking to her about it by saying, "Do you think that Annalise really wants to do these pageants? Maybe you should wait until she is a little older to start her on these." She always just kinda brushed it off. Well, this winter I noticed Annalise has looked pretty orange. I asked my neighbor about it, and she said, "Oh, yeah, we have been using some spray on tan for Annalise. She's got to look the right complexion for the spring season, and the Farmer's Almanac is calling for a long winter, so she won't have much time to get contest ready." I kind of flew off the handle, and told her she ought not to give this girl unrealistic and unnatural tans at this young of an age. She told me not to tell her how to raise her kids. Since then, we haven't talked much beyond pleasantries. Yesterday, I reached my breaking point. The poor little girl came over to play with my daughter, and she was as red as a lobster. She told her friend that she got burnt while tanning. I happen to know that my next-door neighbor has a tanning bed in her house which she uses. But tanning your child, I don't even think that's legal. The fact that she got burnt shows it isn't safe. I called CPB, Kentucky's version of Child Protective Services, and filed a complaint. They took down my information and an extensive record of what I saw/knew. They say it's anonymous, but I'm sure she will know it's me. I probably should have talked to the mom before calling to confirm the worst, but I was so mad I wasn't seeing straight. Am I the asshole?
Wow, this is awful. I'm pretty creeped out by the whole child pageant thing, to begin with, not gonna lie, but this is just way too far. Like, sticking a child in a tanning bed until they're badly burned. Really, that is child abuse. Plain and simple, and it's despicable. Even if I were to grant that there is a right way to go about entering one's child into a pageant, in no universe would that extend to putting the child's health at risk, or making them suffer physical pain in pursuit of a certain aesthetic ideal. It's gross, and it's clear that the mother is doing it for her own gratification, rather than for the good of the child, which makes it pathetic too. It reminds me of sports parents who failed to achieve anything when they were young, and try to capture the opportunity the second time around, by forcing their children to train long hours, and punishing them for not being good enough, regardless of whether the children have any actual interest in the sport. Rather than seeing their children as real human beings, with their own personalities, interests, and desires, these parents just see them as an extension of themselves, to be utilized however they see fit, up to and including abuse. And that, as far as I'm concerned, is pretty much the exact opposite of what raising children is supposed to be all about. As for whether OP overstepped in reporting this to Child Protective Services, opinions may vary, but if you ask me, the answer is absolutely freaking not. It's one thing to respect that all parents have different parenting styles, and that it's not generally your business what other people get up to in the privacy of their own home. but when a child comes to you displaying clear signs of abuse, to do anything less than report this abuse would be a betrayal of the child, and a moral failure on your part. Children are the most vulnerable people in our society. And this vulnerability is especially acute with regard to the adult caregivers who wield absolute power over them. If people outside of the family are too afraid to step in, even when they have completely legitimate grounds for concern, then the children are left totally defenseless. And this is a deeply disturbing prospect to contemplate. I cannot commend OP enough for having the courage and conviction to follow their conscience on this one, even when it was likely to cause friction with the mother. Because in all honesty, I think most people would have chosen to stay quiet. And that scares me. So yeah, great job OP, let's hope the child is able to get some much needed help. And, needless to say, the mother is the asshole. Big time. Moving on. The next post is by user Hometown Crowd 1. And it is titled, Am I the asshole for letting my family and friends disrespect my boyfriend by calling him by his first name?
My boyfriend, 32 male, is a doctor. I met him through my dad back when we were traveling. And after we started dating, he started coming over to my hometown to visit. When I introduced him to my family and friends, I told them his full name, then occupation, then mentioned the other stuff like age and hometown, etc. All good, until months later, where he started complaining about my family and friends referring to him by his first name, and not putting doctor before. I found this strange. I told him that's his professional title. But as a society, we use first names/nicknames, etc. He said he can't help feel annoyed, especially considering that these people don't know him well. But it's been 8 months. He said once we're married or engaged, then they can start referring to him using his first name. Recently he started correcting whenever my friends or family call him by his name. His tone becomes aggressive, and then he goes on a long lecture about how they should put doctor before mentioning his name. It became exhausting, because my friends and family can't understand his strange hang-up, and he keeps picking fights with them about it. Last night we were visiting my parents, and my dad called him Justin instead of Dr. Justin. My boyfriend started arguing with him, which caused a huge fight in the house, and we ended up leaving. In the car, he went off on me, saying I'm letting family and friends disrespect him continually by letting them call him with just his name. I told him he was at fault here, and he was being unreasonable, because what he's expecting is bizarre. He said he takes pride in his profession, and that he sacrificed so much to get where he is today. And my family and friends literally lose nothing if they respect his wishes. He called me an enabler, and said that siding with them paints me in a bad light, and advised me to step up and take a stand. But again, I thought he was overreacting, and being hostile for no reason. We got home, and he shut me down, and refused to speak to me. Mom called me later, and we talked a bit. Today he's gone completely radio silence, but the look on his face is telling. Am I the asshole? Edit. We don't have anyone who's a doctor in the family or friend groups. But we know for certain that we don't use people's professional titles all the time when addressing them. Especially not people we have a relationship with. I don't understand how me and my family are offending him. He is choosing this his hill to die on apparently.
Ha ha wow, could this guy be any more thin-skinned if he tried? Imagine going around commanding people to call you doctor, even outside of work, and not feeling like a complete and utter clown while doing so. Couldn't be me. I have no idea where this guy got the idea that his position was at all normal. But in my, admittedly limited, experience, it certainly isn't. Doctors might command a particular respect within the professional lives, and it's understandable why they might want this to be respected through use of their full title when they are working, but away from work, they are ultimately just people like anyone else. Being a doctor doesn't make you some exalted god king. It's just a qualification, and any doctor with an appropriate sense of perspective will understand this. I generally try not to be overly alarmist in responding to these posts. because lots of issues can be overcome through proper communication. But I honestly think OP should reconsider her relationship with this guy. The whole post just makes him sound like a giant narcissist. And if he's bringing all of this drama into her life over something so trivial, one has to wonder whether he's worth the effort. I for sure wouldn't be siding with him over my actual family, when he's clearly in the wrong, and by the looks of things. This is a choice that OP is increasingly being forced to make. Because of the doctor's bizarre dramatics. So yeah, I wouldn't say that this relationship is completely, 100% doomed. But it's sure heading that way, haha. Oh, I almost forgot. The boyfriend is the asshole. Definitely the boyfriend. No question. It's not even close. Moving on. The last post of the day is by user West Impossible 6901, and it is titled, "Am I the asshole for telling my brother's wife that their wedding was not that good?"
My brother and his wife got married 2 weeks ago. His wife is one of those people who love K-pop. And as you guessed, much of the music in the wedding involved K-pop. We come from traditional Balkan families, both sides, and we expected some traditions to be honored. Traditional music, foods, practices. My brother didn't care about all that, and his wife was completely against it as well. We barely danced any traditional dances at all. Despite that, our side of the family tried to make the most out of it. And we tried to have fun. The bride's family, on the other hand, was boring. They were very snobbish, barely getting up to interact with people, as if they were better than everyone. They did have fun with their friends, as they said, but family-wise, the wedding was a disaster for the rest of us, and not enjoyable in the slightest. My sister-in-law kept bragging about how perfect her wedding was, and how much fun she had. Anyone could hear that, and think it was the event of the year. I just couldn't stand her making a fool of herself, and I decided to be honest. And I told her, hey, since nobody's going to be honest with you, I will be. The wedding was not that good or special. It was different, but not in a good way. Stop going around bragging about your successful wedding planning, when both families dreaded every second of it. It's embarrassing. My brother cursed me out, and told me I was out of line, and demanded I apologize. I said I'm not apologizing for my honest opinion. His wife then tried to defend her stance, by saying how much fun she had, my brother had, and how her friends adored it, and said it's the best wedding they've attended. I told her that they should attend one of those K-pop events then, not plan a wedding. I realized I might have been out of line, after my mom called me to scold me for saying those words. She said I was right, but it's not something I should say out loud and hurt people's feelings. I tried to tell her I was just trying to be honest, because nobody else would, and everyone just let her make a fool of herself.
Well, this person seems fun, not haha. Seriously though, how can someone write out a post like this, read back through it, and not realize that they're the asshole in the situation? Where is the self-awareness? Genuinely baffling. To begin with, I like me some K-pop. So we got off on a bad foot with the unprovoked K-pop slander. But I can ignore that. We all have different musical tastes. After all, I won't hold it against this person that they aren't into the same stuff as me. What I will hold against them, however, is their insufferable attitude of somehow thinking that it's more important whether they had fun than whether the actual marrying couple did at their own wedding, which it isn't. Like, if this person wants to do traditional dances and whatnot, they can do it at their own wedding. And if/when they do, it would be incumbent upon everyone else to respect their wishes, and indulge them just a little bit on the big day, regardless of their own preferences. That's how this whole thing works. The way they describe the sister-in-law quote, bragging about her wedding, also doesn't ring true for me. In light of everything else they say in the post, to me, it seems much more likely that she was just, soaking in the happiness of the moment, as one does, and this person was so damn bitter that she got to have fun and they didn't. that they had to do their best to spoil the moment, even if it meant being a giant douche in the process. Which, to be clear, it did. Even their own mother said "Sir LMAO, what a clown." Finally, what kind of defense is, "I was being honest," in a situation like this? Are they 5 years old? If you say something that's really hurtful and unnecessary, it doesn't matter whether you're being honest. It just isn't cool. Full stop. I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but if everyone just said exactly what they thought all the time, society would come apart at the seams. Because nobody would be able to get along if we were always sharing our harshest sentiments about each other as soon as they came to us. Being a mature adult involves knowing when to hold one's tongue and keep unhelpful thoughts to oneself, not just when to tell the truth. But I guess this person just didn't get the memo, or something. So in summary, the couple did nothing wrong, this person is a giant asshole. And K-pop is the sheet. Case closed. Well, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed reading the posts with me, even if a couple of them were difficult to get through for various reasons. And that you got something out of my commentary. What do you think? Is sticking your child in a tanning bed for a pageant good parenting? Is it reasonable to expect your partner's friends and family to call you doctor in a non-professional setting? Is K-pop good? Let me know in the comments. Also let me know which of the people in each post you consider to be the biggest asshole. I will be interested to see if anyone disagrees with me on any of them. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, or I'll hijack your wedding and blast Super M's jopping at full volume while you're walking down the aisle. Just kidding, haha. Anyway, catch you later.